Ooh, what's going on, friends? Welcome back. We're here for another week. How's everybody doing? I'm excited to be here. It's nice to be here. Welcome to my Mayhem Streamcast. We're here to talk about mental health, disability, and trauma, and create those conversations for acceptance and opportunities. So I just want to give out my quick trigger warning. Sometimes we talk about things that may be difficult and mature in nature, but we're here to share experiences, and these are our own, but it's here to hopefully help somebody else. So I hope we're doing good. I hope everybody's doing good out there. It's nice to be live and with everyone to kick it another week. I'm DJ, your host, visual descriptor. I'm a Latina female, brunette with silver streaks, silver hair, olive skin, brown eyes, big smile. I'm wearing pink lipstick today, a little bit of a flowery shirt. And I'm just here to have a great guest and a great conversation and talk about second chances at life. So it's going to be a great conversation. I'm really excited to be here, have this conversation with our guest. Oh, goodness. I feel like I've been away, even though I was away like 1 week. And, sometimes we have to do those kinds of things. So, but if you are new here, welcome. Please support my work on LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and lately I've been on Instagram making reels, so that's something new. If anyone's interested in live streaming or needs some production, please reach out. I'm here, I'm available, and hopefully I'll be starting some new things coming out, and I will be letting everybody know, and I'm so excited. So there's a little hint, some new stuff coming out that I'm going to be working on, trying to create a safe space, a private space, call it. So, and I'll be sending out some warm welcomes, some invitations, and I'll be excited to kind of work with some of you on a more private setting. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to share that and what I've been working on. I want to thank Restream for rolling this stream tonight for us. Please, if you are interested in streaming, think about using Restream, because we are pairing. We're going to my channels, we're going to my guests' channels, and it's just one of those amazing things about Restream that you can use as pair your channels. So check them out. All right. I'm really excited to be here. We're going to get to it, start talking to our guest, and bring him out. But before I do that, please, if you're interested in being a sponsor, let me know. Reach out. I would love to talk to you. We are always looking for sponsors that want to support this show, that supports mental health, people with disabilities, people that have gone through traumatic situations, medical issues, chronic illnesses. And we're just here to provide a space to have these conversations, to kind of share our stories. So I'm excited again to be here with our guest. He is a wonderful co-host, a host on his own show. He's here to share his life experiences with kidney transplant and some of his medical issues and what he's been through. He's the co-host of a Second Chance podcast where they highlight stories and they bring awareness to organ transplant, organ donation, and all other stories. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's one of the beauties about these shows, is that you know, it starts with a message and maybe some sort of like intention, and then it just transforms and it continues to grow and become something else and just something very natural. And me and him have similar passion for stories and people and really highlighting what they've been through and bringing awareness and acceptance to those issues. He's also a representative for the Why Not Foundation, and I really want to hear more about that. But we're here to bring out Philip Jones, and I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and get Philip out. Ooh, what's going on?
Hey DJ, how are you?
Good, 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 good. Thank you so much for joining me today. Philip, I
Oh,
know
thank
we've
you
been
for having me.
I was on your show a couple months ago, and it's only fair I have you here with your amazing story and all the things that you do as well. And again, how we have that similar passion for people highlighting their stories, sharing their stories, and really uplifting others, letting them know that there is more ahead. We want to, really encourage opportunities for others and to not give up, right? Isn't that what it's all
Right,
about?
definitely, definitely.
Great. So, you know, I know you from the Second Chance. Now, is it a podcast, but it's also a live stream?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've kind of taken a short break on the actual podcast part of it. We'll be getting, but we're gonna take a break in September. So we'll be showing all kind of replays of shows that we've had in the past. For the month of September, we're going to revamp and get things, more energetic and things of that nature. Come back in October and just set the world on fire. So, you know, just trying to make some things happen.
Oh, I love it. I'm excited for you. Yeah. I mean, it's that time of year. We're second half of the year. Got to keep going, finish strong. Lots to do. Let's say hi to the chat. We got a couple people here today, and I definitely want to say hello to Mackenzie. Wonderful. Thank you, sponsor of this awesomeness. Thank you for always being the best mod ever and hanging out and always taking care of us. Wallace Healing Center. What's going on? It's been so long. It's been a really long time since I'd seen you. So excited to be listening for the first time. I know. We got to catch up. My goodness. It's so good to have you popping in. And I know I saw Rosemary. Rosemary, thank you again for hanging out with us, stopping by. Say hi to Philip, our wonderful guest today.
Hey, Rosemary, how are you?
And Lily Johnson says, hi, Phil.
Real quick, a little short story about Lily. Lily is an awesome, awesome individual. Lily's actually our production specialist for everything that we do in the Why Not Foundation. Most of the stuff we do is through Zoom, and so Lily is a person that's behind the scenes that gets all that stuff going and in order and everything like that. So I just want to thank Lily for stopping by and supporting me and yourself. So hey, Lily.
Yeah. Hi, Lily. Thanks for checking us out and supporting Phil in this conversation. That's really nice. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah, set it. We're setting the world on fire. Set it on fire. I know, I know, I know. Thank you. Okay. Oh, see, Lily says, oh, thank you, Phil, always. So that's nice. It's nice when you have like people right in your team that like are there and they're really supportive of the work we do, right? These stories empowering others. But you talked about the Why Not Foundation, right?
Yes, yes.
Tell
So
us
the
a
Why
little
Not
bit.
Foundation is a 501c nonprofit organization that helps and supports pediatric pre and post transplant patients and their families. We do a number of things: support groups, awareness for organ donation and transplantation, health events as well, health and wellness events. Also, we also are we're in the business of starting back our symposiums. We did two last year for pediatric support and preventative kidney care as well. Those are both on our channels. Why Not Impact Lives Network? Check those out also. And so we do a number of things. It's really kind of from the age of birth to 21. that of people that we kind of support, and I get it kind of person to person kind of support, right? Because we try to support everybody, but when it comes to like the gas cards and things of that nature that we do, we really kind of more or less support uh, the under 21-year-olds in that
Mhm.
way. Uh, we're always there for everybody, especially when they need to talk port or anything like that. So,
Wow. Okay. I was looking for their website real quick here to throw up a link. And trying to figure
so
out how to spell it.
it's
Yeah.
YNOTT.org.
et.org. Okay. Let's see if I got that right. Here we go. Is it, yeah.
Jenny probably.
Why?
Yeah, YNOTT.org. Yeah.
All right, cool. So just so everybody knows what organization we are giving a shout out to, a holler to, and thank you for sharing that resource. That is fantastic. So, um, kudos, to that organization, and thank you for that 501c3. So there you go. We love to support our nonprofits that do good work.
Definitely.
All right. All right. Thanks, Rosemary. Always. I always learn something, Philip. I am good. Okay. Good. Oh, Jenny, what's going on? Thank you again for
Hey, Jenny.
stopping through. We have so many good people today. Look at that, Philip. Thank you so much for being a guest today. Hi, Martha. How are you? Thank you. And look at that. Best mod ever threw up the link with the HTTPS up there. So, all right,
Okay.
great. So tell us a little bit about your story and how how all this started, how your life with this your kidney disease and childhood and
Yeah,
little boy that
and
had to go through all this.
and definitely ask me questions as I go along. I don't have a problem with stopping or anything like that. So, but to get started, at the age of 4, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. I immediately went to 30% kidney functions, which is relatively labeled as stage 4, not in stage renal disease yet. Um, and so I lived, honestly, I tried to live as much of a normal life as possible. So I didn't tell anybody I went to school with or anything like that. I think it took until maybe I got to high school when I finally told someone, what I was dealing with. Um, and I
Wow.
pretty much lived on 30% kidney function until the age of 16. And 16 is really where the story kind of really picks up and starts at. My kidney function started to drastically decline, very rapidly, from 30%. So, I mean, 30% is bad enough already. And so once that started they noticed it immediately, because once you're in renal disease and everything, you have to do monthly lab work and everything like that. And so I remember when I got to my appointment, I said I was 16 years old, and my doctor said, uh, your percentage is starting to decline, and it's declining, very fast. So it's that time for you to go on dialysis, and it that getting that news for some people it's like, oh, I got to go on dialysis. For me, it was really nothing to intake because my doctors had consistently told me that I was gonna have to at one point probably do dialysis, have a transplant, and everything. So from 4 to 16 every month, I had to hear that. So when I heard the news that I was gonna go to dialysis, it was like, okay, well, it's just the next step. Let's go. Let's make this happen. So, 16, um, I made the transition to another Kaiser facility in LA, which is kind of like the Hollywood area of LA, and got put in a dialysis unit there and nephrology and everything. And so, um, got put on the transplant list maybe
Wow.
a month or so after that. And then I got the call February 25th, 2007, that I had a kidney. So had that procedure done, had the transplant, and recovery was about 6 days for me. It would have been less had they told me that ahead of time that if I start walking, I can go home. But they didn't tell me that till like day 3 or 4. And I'm like, why did you not tell me this? I'm like, I could have started walking the day after surgery because I wasn't in that much pain really, which was
Good.
surprising me, right? You know, I mean, you got this long scar in my abdomen area, and you would think I was
Mm-hmm.
in, a whole lot of pain. I actually was not. Um, and so, got up, started walking, walked for about 2 days, and they sent me home. Um, and so the one thing that a lot of patients understand is that when you get out of transplant, you have a ton of medications to take, a ton of them. And so, the one thing that is very quickly was the decline in the amount of medication that I had to take after every hospital stay. They were taking some down or taking one off or anything, something like that. And so um, I remember when I went to go see my nephrologist, my transplant nephrologist at UCLA, because UCLA is where I had my transplant. Um, my transplant nephrologist, his name was Dr. Robert Edinger, and he's actually still there to this day. I remember I walked in and he said, "Hey, I want you to go meet this lady down the hall. She's going to give you a presentation." Normally, we get straight to business when I go in for that appointment. I mean, we chit chat about other things as well, but it's mostly like getting the numbers out the way and everything like that. And so I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, you don't even want to talk about the labs or nothing. Like, you just want me to go down the hall. So he's like, we can talk about that, when you get done. So I walked down the hall, and this lady, her name was Lily as well. Gave me a presentation on the Transplant Games of America. Well, at that time, it was called the U.S. Transplant Games. That were going to be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the year 2008. And
Wow.
this is 2007 when I got this presentation. It's like later in the year 2007. And, she's giving me this presentation. She had made this whole little tri-board thing and everything. And after she got done, she asked me, she says, and mind you, I'm 17 at this time, right? So she asked me, she goes, "Is this something that you would like to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to attend, something that's transplant related. So, it's going to be thousands of transplant patients, donor families at this event." And I said, that's something that I need in my life because it took
Oh,
until my transplant day for me to meet somebody else that was either potentially getting a transplant or had one. And the person that I met was actually the other person that was getting the other kidney from the same person that I was getting mine from. I met him
wow.
in that mission. So that was a little bit special moment for myself. Um, but I told her, I said, I would love to go. I said, but I'm 17. Money is kind of an issue at this point for me. And so she was like, no, I understand that. And so I got back in my room, and my doctor asked me, "Well, Philip, what'd you think?" And I said, "I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told her. I'm 17. Money is an issue for me right now." And he looked at me and he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "Don't even worry about that." He said, "Well, I'll get UCLA to sponsor you." And they did. UCLA Medical Facility sponsored me to go to 2008 U.S. Transplant Games, and I had
Wow.
I came home with 3 medals. I mean, it was just an awesome and enduring experience. Like I said, it was able to talk to patients and get different stories and talk to donor families, and it's also always good to see donors, living donors, and donor families, because even though they didn't donate to you, it's just still the right to just say thank you for even making a
Yeah.
choice, a selfless act to say, hey, I'm going to donate this spare part that I have to somebody else to keep them here alive. So that was really the biggest thing that I took from that. It wasn't even the sporting events, which were a blast and everything like that, but it was just the chance to tell these donors and donor families thank you for making that choice to be able to donate to people like myself. It's over 100,000 people on a wait list at this current time. And you know donors are completely needed right now. I mean, it's a shame that we even have to have it at that number. And I understand that some people can take to myths and things of that nature. And there are a number of them out there that people like to tell to get people out of, organ donation and things of that nature. And I could even understand,
Really?
yeah, I can understand that
Really?
for a living donor, right? I can understand that. But what's the point of you taking these organs with you when you pass? They can't go with you. So it's like, you might as well, give it to someone else that's going to be able to use it, when you're gone. So, um, and
I've
so,
always been an organ donor, so I agree, right? Like I know I don't physically need these organs.
right, right, right.
And
I'm
somebody
an
it
organ
could
donor
feel
myself. So,
yeah.
even though it won't necessarily be able to be my kidney, take, my liver, my heart, my lungs, all these other parts that are able to be
Yeah.
somebody else to allow them to live a fuller life, not have to be on
Almo
dialysis or have an LVAD or, a breathing machine and things of that nature.
so many organs that can be donated. So, yeah. Mm. Gosh, I love it. You're just sharing. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Martha,
Yeah,
thank you for being
definitely.
here.
Please ask
Showing your
away.
support. So true. Martha says, wow, good for you. So, to have that experience, I know she said that when you were talking about going to the games and winning and the medals and meeting those donors and just being able to say thank you, even if they weren't your donor specifically, right?
Right,
Um, but to show your appreciation for so many. So,
definitely.
I want to go back real quick to when you were a child, saying that you
Mhm.
really kept your medical condition to yourself. You were very private about it. You didn't tell anybody at school. And then you also said that you didn't meet anybody with, donor circles, anything like that. So, do you think one has to do with the other? Do you think that that you weren't really actively talking and you were still young, and I think maybe it was just the just going to the doctor, right? The routine appointments that you had, but overall you really tried to maintain the most normal childhood is what you said.
Yeah. The main thing is that I understood at an early
Mhm.
age is that kids can be mean. And
Mhm.
kids make fun of what I started to understand as going to school to be a teacher and everything like that, and all the ops are done and things of that nature, is that kids make fun of things they don't understand.
Mhm.
And so I figured that out actually at a very early age. I had cousins that were, mean and things of that nature. Not necessarily mean to me, but just in
Mhm.
general, and so I was like, I know that if I tell them this, they aren't going to be able to understand what I'm telling them. And it's not
Yeah.
technically their job to really understand, really. I mean, and so, but I knew to be able to put myself in a good position that it was just best for me to keep it to myself as
Okay.
opposed, telling everybody and things of that nature. And I've learned that a lot of patients that dealt with any type of organ failure, any type of ailment or diseases or anything like that, kind of keep it to themselves as a kid because of the fact that they just want to be as normal as possible. They don't want the pity party. They don't want people, taking it easy on them because they're sick and things of that nature. And they just want to be able to live a childhood life. So that was really kind of
Yeah.
where I was at with kind of keeping it to myself.
Okay. And so since you work and you have some, you work with the Why Not Foundation, how do they help kids deal with that? Well, I
Like I
mean,
said
kind of
earlier, we uh, we definitely host support groups where starting to get a lot more active in a lot more other states where we've been mainly. do anything before I kind of came on, and a number of other came on board have been really kind of on the eastern side of the United States, and so now we have myself, the chairman of our board is in LA as well. We have Brandy in Utah. Jared Brown's coming on board. He's in Utah as well. So we're starting, a lot more seeing and things of that nature around the country as a whole. We've done things in other states, it's just we haven't been really consistent in these other
Mhm.
states like we are now. So, we're hosting a support group at University of Michigan Children's Hospital. I think next month. We just did a event at Michigan State. I believe last weekend. Yeah, last
Wow.
week before last. Where the people who registered came and watched the football team practice, got a tour of the facility, got to meet some coaches and some players and things of that nature. So,
Okay.
we always try to put some type of event like this together, to be able to, let the kids experience things
Yeah.
outside of just the house, because, when you get sick at a certain age when you're younger, your parents try to keep a hold of you really. And
Mm.
so that leads to homeschooling and not really being able to do anything or things like that if you haven't had a transplant yet. So, um, we do a number of things. I said we do health and wellness events as well. We have an event that's called Turning for Causes. We've hosted at Ohio State about 3 or 4 years. We sold out, Ohio State Stadium. And so we're getting back into the groove of things. Through every foundation, you have your high points and your low points.
Oh
And
gosh,
we're
yeah.
we're we're in the process of getting back to our high point, to be able to do what we do best, which is support the youth.
I'm excited. This sounds great. So, I think that that's really important and it's so needed for children, for kids, I mean, anybody that's going obviously through chronic illness or medical, there's a sense of isolation and all that compounds. But when you're a child, and you don't know any better and kids are mean. So to have that organization to really help provide and, you know, some fun and some awareness, some opportunities again that we talked about. It just kind of brings people together. And I think that that's, again, goes back to our podcast, maybe switching gears a little bit into that, is telling those stories and how we start to feel like, okay, there is a community out there and I'm not alone, which is for me one of the most important messages that I like to really, always share about the intention of this show, is so people do not feel alone and that they
Right.
hear these stories of other people or they can relate to someone, as we see in the chat, that triggers a memory like, wow, like I could see how that. So I love Mackenzie's comment. Let's talk about that. I went to school with someone who had a kidney transplant as a younger teen. People were not very nice to him, but he was a great person. No matter what, he always seemed to be smiling. People like that. People like that leave an impact. So
Definitely, I agree.
yeah. And then Wallace. So much to carry so young. Good on you for bringing awareness to the young folks now. So,
Appreciate
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. All right. I love the comments. Thank you everyone that's like tuning in and keeping up with our conversation. I mean, I think this is really important and I think it's to understand the perspectives of others and when they're going through, this is not my story and this is your story, and I just want to know more about and how we can support, right? If like all our loved ones, caregivers, someone that gets diagnosed with, kidney disease in our family, and or someone that we know, or you don't even know who may be going through it behind closed doors,
Right.
right? And just so that's like another thing, is to always be compassionate for others because you just don't know, and not everyone is open about what they're going through when it comes to illness or medical issues, or you know so it's good work though, and it's so needed. And I appreciate you being here and sharing with us your story, and everything that has gotten you to this place now where you're at. Like going through all those experiences. to be doing this work now and to be giving back and really helping others and supporting these organizations. Go ahead.
So that's just the beginning. um,
Mm-hmm.
so 2010, unfortunately, my kidney rejected. And that was August of 2010. In October of, well, let's go back a month. September of 2010, I had a really bad seizure. I was at choir rehearsal because at that time I used to be in a gospel group with my mom, and so I remember being there, and I had this major headache. I had this headache all day. I tried Tylenol and everything, went lay down, went to sleep, and just had this massive headache. Um, as we were getting ready for rehearsal, and I remember standing in the hallway in the back of the church, and our guitarist, had said, he's like, "What's up, Philip?" and tried to fist bump me. And I remember I put my hair, and my arm went this way, and I'm like, "What just happened?" So I kind of gathered myself back together, went like this again, and as soon as I went like this, I went into a full seizure. And I stayed in the hospital for about 2 or 3 weeks. Got out, and about 2, maybe 3 weeks later, I had this same headache again. And I told my dad, I said, "Hey, we need to go to the hospital. I'm having this headache again. Last time I had this headache, I had a seizure. This headache is killing me." So we get to the hospital. They do a CAT scan and everything, and I remember uh, the doctor came in the room, and she looked at me. When you get that look of concern from doctors, something's wrong. You know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I kind of looked at her, and she gave me like those sad eyes, and I'm like, all right, gotta go through something else again. What is it next? What's on the plate now? And that's when she that I had a brain bleed and was going to need emergency brain surgery. So uh, had that night, and stayed in the hospital for about a month, and then it took me about a good 2 to 3 years for me to recover fully from that. Um, I was in the house like that first year. I was just in the house. I didn't want to go anywhere. Didn't want to do anything. I was stayed in the house literally all day. And then my dad was like, you need to get up, go outside, get some sun, things of that nature. And so at that time, um, we actually lived on the behind us in the apartments before we moved into this house. And I remember I used to go, I took that advice, and I said, all right, so I know I can't go walking or anything anywhere, so I'm gonna just go sit in the car. So I just go sit in the car while the sun's out, and just, I sit in the car for like 2 or 3 hours and just listen to the radio, right? And that got me, uh, just the sun alone gave me more power to be able to do more things. That's when I started going to the store, started taking walks and things of that nature. And so about 2014, I was point to go back to school. And I very slowly got into a groove somewhat. It was like I'd finish a semester, I'd take like one class just to try to get myself back in the groove of things. And then the next semester, I end up in the hospital and had to drop those classes. So it was like that for about 5 or 6 years. And then I finally got to a point where I was out more than I was in, and able to finish semesters, and I take 2 or 3 more classes a semester, things of that nature. And 2017, I got back into theater. Um, and 2018, we went to Arizona and won 2 awards that year at the Kennedy Center's Region 8 Festival. And It's a funny story. The reason why I bring up 2018 is because when we went to Arizona, we much had our week mapped out the way it was supposed to go. So I did my dialysis according to how the day was supposed to go. And so all that went out the window when the team decided to go eat. Then we decided to go get a rental car for something, a special award, and didn't want to go back home and wanted to stay to get it because they had to be there to receive it. And so we ended up staying there like an extra 4 or 5 hours in Arizona. So at this point, I can kind of very lightly feel some breath coming on. And so I'm sitting in the van, and I just got the air conditioner blowing on me because for some reason air conditioning is like a substitute for oxygen. So on the way back, we stopped somewhere, and I remember my director looked at me and said, "You feeling okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm good. You know, we can stop. We need to stop. We can stop." I'm like, "No, I'm fine." And about 5 minutes later, it got worse. And I looked at him and I said, "JP, we need to stop." He said, "All right." So he got his phone and looked up the nearest emergency room. And this is the funny part about, well, one of the funny parts about this story is that when we got to where Google sent us, there was no emergency room there. It was nothing there. It was just an abandoned building. It was pitch black dark. It was like one light on in the area. And we were like, okay, this is definitely an emergency room. So we ended up going to another emergency room in Blythe. And the other funny part of the story. So first off, this has to be like one of the first emergency rooms ever built because it was no room in the waiting room. The doctor was like, had to be like 80 some years old and the only doctor who had ever worked there. And
oh my goodness.
And he came in to me. First question he asked me was, "Are you allergic to any medications?" And I said, "Yes. You know, I'm allergic to NSAIDs, hydrolizine, you know," and he said, "Okay." And then he went on, you know, with the rest of his questions. And so he said, "Okay, well, we're going to give you," and the first thing he said was, "We're going to give you minoxidil." And my jaw dropped because I'm like, did you not just hear me say that I'm allergic to it? And his next question was, "Well, what does it do?" I'm like, "It doesn't matter. I'm allergic to it." And so his whole thing was he wanted to know what it did. I guess he was going to make a decision if he was going to give it to me or not based on what my allergic reaction to it is. I said, "It swells me up from my head to my toes. I just literally, I blow up like a balloon." And then he was like, "Well, we can't get you that." Well, really? I didn't know this. If he's allergic to something, you normally don't give it to him, no matter what the allergic reaction is. So that was kind of actually the start of everything kind of getting in motion for me with 2018. Even with that situation, I started school fall of that year and got sick, and had to take that semester off. Had to also take the spring of 2019 off, and I went back to theater fall of 2019. And 2020 we went to Cal State Fullerton, which is a festival was held in 2020, and we won 3 national awards that year for our self-written production called Criminal. And
Wow.
it was that I've never had that much fun while I was tired in my life. We did 3 shows back to back to back in one night. 3 shows. They were about an hour long with the Q&A session afterwards, and we did all in one night, 3 shows consistently. And even the people who were there noticed that we were like drained, and they were like, "You know what? Just go to the hotel. We'll put this stuff up for you." And because we were exhausted. I mean, but it was what we love to do. It's what we love to do, and so you know, we weren't going to really let it be seen why we were acting. It was more of a after we finished type of situation. So, and and I forgot to mention 2018. I also ended up going back to what is now called the Transplant Games of America. The name changed after the 2010 games when NKF dropped it off because they were the original sponsors of the U.S. Transplant Games, and then they dropped it, and Bill Ryan picked it up with the Transplant Life Foundation, and
Wow.
he's been running it since 2012, I believe. And so 2018, I was able to go because it was in Utah, which means the ticket wasn't going to be that much plane wise and everything. And so, so I was able to go 2018. I met a long list of new people. Was able to meet people that I've been talking to for the past 10 years on Facebook and things. And it was a great situation to be back there. Also, 2020 was just crazy for everybody. That was
Yeah.
just a crazy time for all of us. And so the games got canceled that year, obviously, and they brought it back 2022. Though they really kind of brought it back last year. Did a virtual transplant games, and then this
Oh,
year they
okay.
brought it back. It was in San Diego. So the White Eye
Nice.
Foundation went down there, and we had a booth and everything. We also selected to host the Team Talk event that's a part of the transplant game. So we had a great week out there in San Diego. I mean, that's only like 2 hours from my house, but I was very happy to meet some people that I've been talking to on Facebook for the past 4 years and hadn't been able to meet
Yeah.
in person, and had some great conversations with some people and some young people at that. And so it was a great situation. So said all that to get to the current time, which I'm now dealing with a enlarged aorta valve of my heart, which means that I will now be required to have open heart surgery, which I'm hopefully will be scheduling when I have the consultation with the surgeon next Monday. And so that put me on hold for my transplant evaluation to get put on the transplant list. So once I have that procedure done and I get okay by a cardiologist, then they'll go forward with the evaluation. I'm not worried about getting a yes to be on the list because my compliance is good, my labs are good, my support system is beyond good. I have, my whole virtual world plus my immediate family and everything like that. I just want to say publicly, I appreciate all the love and support that I've gotten while dealing with it. People consistently praying for me and sending their love, and I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you all uh, for back through this situation and in any situation that I've been in the past. So um, that's pretty much the story.
Wow.
So I've left some things out intentionally so I didn't go on because the story is a lot longer than the time that we have allowed for us at this point. So kind of skipped around a little bit, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Okay, so you're waiting now for heart surgery, right? You're waiting for the doctor and all that. And then after that, you'll go back to the transplant list for the second time now, right? Since your kidney was the kidney was rejected, and so now you are back on dialysis.
Yes, I'm currently on in-center hemodialysis. When I first went back on in 2010, I started in-center hemodialysis. But
I don't know what that is. I'll be honest. I'm like, oh,
in-center
but
is the
we don't have
difference
to be too technical.
between doing so. I was called a chest cath. It's right here.
Yeah.
And so that's how they connect me to the machine. And
Okay.
like I said, done in center, right? But they also was called home hemodialysis, where the
Oh,
machine is in your home. You put the
okay.
machine together and everything and connect yourself either with a chest cath or a fistula or a graft in your arm.
Okay.
And then also the other type of dialysis called peritoneal dialysis, where they place a catheter in your abdominal area, and it kind of just hangs out maybe about 3 or 4 inches from your stomach,
Mhm.
and you have actually machine is right here. Still, they didn't ask me to send it back yet. So, um, but so and then you have solution bags that you put on the machine. There's a
Mhm.
cassette that goes in the machine where you connect the lines to the bags and everything.
Oh, okay.
And that's home peritoneal dialysis. Peritoneal dialysis in the hospital is only usually done for people that are admitted in the hospital. It's not usually a in-center situation. Peritoneal is usually just for uh, home purposes. But
Okay.
hemodialysis can be done in your home or in the center.
Thank you for that clarification. I didn't know you could do dialysis at home, honestly. So
Yes,
that's kind of, I didn't know that. I just used to seeing the centers, right, that we see. So,
right.
all right. All right. Let's go to the chat real quick, Philip. I want to say hi to Shannon because I saw Shannon pop in here before. Shannon Epps, thank
Hey,
you for
Shannon.
stopping by. It's been a long time since I seen you, girl. So I hope you're doing well, and I hope we get a chat sometime soon. Martha, thanks for still hanging out with us. Martha says you are not a study rat. So that doctor over there trying to give you that what you're allergic to figure out if you're really allergic to or how allergic you are to it. That don't fly.
Right, right.
And she says your strength is outstanding.
I
So,
appreciate
um,
that.
yeah, no, I mean, just hearing your story and everything you've gone through from seizures and brain surgery and now heart surgery and my goodness, kidney, and dialysis and the transplant. It's just, yeah. I mean, your story is incredible. Philip, you're writing a book, right?
Yes.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Get it all out in a book. And have that. Oh my gosh. Martha says science, I tell you.
Man. And what's crazy is science used to be my favorite subject when I was younger in school, and now it's just like the, I'm not. It's not for me right at this point
Nah,
in
no.
time in my life. It's just not.
You're
I mean, at I was younger, I wanted to be a pediatric nephrologist because of the impression that my pediatric nephrologist left on me. I said that's
mm,
the type of doctor. I had two of the best pediatric nephrologists, and the crazy part about it was that they were actually best friends. And they like so even to this day, I'll ask my dad like, "Do you remember which doctor came there?" He's like, "Man, I don't remember." He said they both looked alike, so I just remember names. I remember Dr. Carr and Dr. Peterson at Kaiser Bellflower, and they were both amazing. Like I said, they used to go fishing together and everything, but they were exactly the same. It was like if they went through life twice. It was like one did it once and then the other did it, just followed the same exact steps. It was exactly the same. They practiced the same. Everything about them was the same. But I think that made it better for myself, but to continue getting that love, care, and support from my nephrologist. And that's very important for your health, is when you have a doctor that you can consistently talk to, get information, get that love, care, and support from as well. I definitely get that currently from my adult nephrologist that I have now, John Sim, and I definitely give him most of the credit for everything that's going on because he stayed on me since day one of transition to adult care. He's been the
wow.
center I've had for the past 13 years that I've been on the other side of adult. And so I've had him and I've had Lori. Those are the only two still there on my team that was there from day one. Is my
Wow.
dietitian. Lori, I don't even know what to say about Lori. I mean, that woman amazing at her position. You can ask her anything about eating when it comes to kidney care. She has an answer for it. She has a paper that says high potassium, low potassium, high phosphorus, low phosphorus. And if she needs to send it to you, she'll send it to you. She'll send it in the mail if she needs to. So that's
Oh,
one of the biggest blessings of um, my time with health issues is that I've had doctors who care. And that's one thing I have to stress on with the people that are watching is that you need to make sure you have a doctor that cares. Always know that you have the right to get a second opinion. So if a doctor tells you something that you don't necessarily agree with, it is your right as a patient to go get a second opinion from somebody, from another physician, and get if you need to get an okay or diagnosis or anything like that, take that opportunity to go to another physician and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I feel like may be the problem, but this physician is telling me otherwise. I would love to get your opinion on this. That is your God-given right to be able to go to somebody else and get a second opinion.
I love that. That is like solid. When you were talking about that, I was going to ask you, how important is it for you to have that relationship with your physician, your team, and you answered it immediately. Like it's like you knew that question was coming. So, and it is so important. And I appreciate you encouraging and saying that, right? Like saying it so people hear it. Like that is so important. Martha, thank you again. I want to say hi to Dwellin real quick because he popped in.
Well,
What's
and
up,
Mr.
Dwellin?
Williams.
Thanks for popping through and supporting this conversation. We appreciate you. Martha, thank you again. They do care for you, Philip. And you care for them and they've been there for you. And I think that relationship is so special. She says she's honored to hear your story and you're an
Well, I
inspiration.
appreciate you
So
being here.
Martha has her medical issues, and so I know she understands. She takes care of her aging parents. So even no matter what, if you're a caregiver, if you're there as a representative, if you're there to advocate for someone on behalf, right, to really make sure that they're getting the medical care that they deserve, they need, so they don't have a doctor trying to give them something they're allergic to. Making
Yeah,
sure that
you definitely have to be your own self advocate. You can't really. I'm not saying you can't rely on somebody else because if you have that caring person in your life that will advocate
right.
for you, that is also very important. But you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be able to
Mm,
go to a doctor and say, "Hey, this medicine is making me feel like crap. I need you to change it, or whatever." But you have to do whatever you need to do to make things happen and make sure they're done right. That
that's
is the
right.
biggest thing about being a patient is that when you're younger you don't really understand it, and it took for me to hit 18 when my dad was like, you're 18 now, you have to advocate for yourself, and those are probably some of the most powerful words that I've heard because it it made me see things as my own self advocate. Before, when I was a kid, it was like, all right, dad'll take care of it, mama take care of it,
Yeah.
but when you 18, you have to start making these decisions for yourself. Ask for your parents' signature after 18. You have to sign these papers yourself. So you need to know what you're reading. You need to know the procedure is for, what it's going to do to you. You need to, know all this stuff on your own. You have to be your own self advocate.
I love it. Thank you for saying that too, because I've said that on the show, and I strongly encourage that. Like really taking ownership and saying, sometimes we just don't have nobody, and you have to step up. I mean, obviously, um, you're blessed with family and caring support. I mean, you talked about your support system, which is another crucial, part of this conversation that seems to always be an important part of it, right? Like the support system. But even if with that aside, you have to be your own self advocate and you have to be the one to say, that doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right. Let me get a second opinion. Gather more information, research as much as possible, ask questions and don't just kind of uh I don't know, take it for what it is,
Right,
right? And just say,
right,
oh, okay. So
right.
Thank you. So thank you for saying that. Thank you, Philip. Okay. Martha says investigation. Investigation is key.
Yes, yes, yes.
But it really is for anybody in any of these like situations, medical issues, chronic illnesses, right? Like continuing to do your research, continuing to stay as informed as possible and ask as many questions and if what do you say to someone that feels like they may not be listening?
Uh I think you just kind of have to reiterate yourself. Like you just have to keep, repeating it till they get it and understand what you're telling them. Because there's never
So
too much to say to somebody in those situations, especially you're trying to get them to understand something that you're telling them. As a kid, I was really stubborn as a kid. I'm not gonna lie to you. So it took my dad sometimes to consistently repeat some stuff to me, like, and I'm just like, yeah, all right,
oh
yeah, okay, yeah, people, like go in the room, man. I hear you, I got you, and it took me a while for me to honestly understand me and take it for
mm-hmm.
what it's worth and actually apply it to my life. And so, it's just sometimes repetition is going to take consistent repeating to tell somebody until they, get it. Better late than never, because
Yeah.
never understanding it can lead to somebody dying. Later in life can lead to them saving their life, when they finally understand, all right, I need to change, my physical activity level. I need to change what I'm eating, or I need to, change what I'm
Yeah.
reading, or whatever the case may be, So, when you feel like they're not listening, and I'm not saying it needs to be 24/7, telling them, but, from time to time, just come back, tell them, hey, man, just want, I care about you. I just want you to know, X, Y, Z, and go down a list. If you have a list, go down a list of things you need them to know. It's just like I said,
Okay.
it's consistent telling.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. This hour's like flown by. I feel like woo, we just like started. Okay. So one question I absolutely want to ask you is how can we support you? How can we uh you know support you, connect with you, follow you, your social medias? You don't have a GoFundMe or anything like that, do you?
No, we have a Cash App, and it's a second chance. I believe it's a second chance. I can actually find out for you real quick.
Well, I just didn't
Um,
know, I know that you're on social media. I know you have your podcast. Um, and I know that, well, you're
yeah,
going
we
through
have
your stuff right now, waiting
yeah,
for the
I'm
doctor.
because I'm more signed in on my personal Cash App than
Yeah.
our show's Cash App. So that's why
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
kind of a
Well, I just didn't know if you had any like a GoFundMe or anything. Because I know sometimes like Jenny does. I know Jenny Gold has a GoFundMe. Um,
right.
so I was just asking, and then they can support you through the podcast or your show, or go on your social media channels and follow you on your YouTube channel. I know you have your YouTube.
Yeah, our YouTube channel is called A Second Chance. It's I believe you
I
have it
got
in
it
the
here.
description. Yeah,
I
so definitely, if you don't mind, go and check out some content. We have some, and the thing about our channel is that we're not just a talk show, or anything like that.
Mhm.
We are educational as well. So we have some teaching shows on there about we do conferences as well. Myself, my co-host Farrell Cook, and our good friend Jonathan Traylor. We put on conferences. We've recently been doing things related to kidney care.
Mhm.
We're actually going to do a part two to our um, kidney disease conference, and a part two to our in center and home dialysis conference as well, and then we're gonna move on to the next organ. So it'll probably be liver, or heart or something like that. Um, and then we'll also touch on what's it called? He doesn't like to call it mental health. He likes to call it brain health, which I agree with,
Okay.
because mental health has such a bad some words behind it. It's I don't think the best way, because people tend to turn you off when you say uh mental health. They don't want to hear what you have to say at that
It's
point. So
triggering. It's very triggering. Yes. Okay.
so um and then I'm give me 1 second. I can thank you. I don't know if the bonfire website down there also.
Yes. I was going to say that. You got your merch. They can support you
Yeah,
through the
definitely.
merch.
And the thing is, I design all our stuff myself. Um,
Yeah.
all the programs for our conferences, I do. All the flyers and things of that nature, I do. But the show doesn't happen the way it happens without Tafaro, as well as our motivational Mondays don't happen without Jennifer Ford and Fred Hill. And Fred Hill's another person I would definitely be with, um, because he also
I've
has a great
I've heard
team
him.
story also.
I've seen him. I think I saw him on somebody else's show. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Oh, I feel terrible. Jonathan
Oh,
Trailer
Jonathan
show.
Taylor, yeah, Jonathan.
I think
Jonathan's a
I saw
good
him
friend
on.
of mine.
Yeah. So I think I had seen him. So yeah, he's inspirational, like motivational, like woof presence.
Yeah, he also does his own motivational Monday type situation on his own
Hmm.
on his LinkedIn and Facebook also. And he also does motivational Mondays for us as well. So that'll be coming out tonight. When I probably do that when I get off here. But yeah,
Wow.
the I might do a lot of things for this show, but it doesn't happen without the surrounding. So that's the one thing that I can say for sure, is that this show doesn't move without those other three components. So it's not just me. Just because I may do kind of more of the manual labor part of the situation doesn't mean that it's all mine. I look at it as uh, a family. It's equally ours. So
Yes. Well, you're doing great things. You have a great team with everyone over there. And I know that you're going to keep spreading that word and really providing that amazing resource and services. And, even sharing everything you've shared tonight with the Why Not Foundation and that resource. Like, it's nice to see all these different people up, the Kidney Trails team over there. It's just really empowering to see all these different groups and individuals like getting together and really like sharing this message, right? So,
right, definitely.
all right. I,
Just like Tafaro says, you can line 20 patients up, but you're gonna get a different story every time. And that's the reason why these stories are so powerful, because like I said, we may all get to the same destination, but we all took
mhm,
different streets and avenues to get there. Nobody's story
yeah,
is exactly the same. We may have some similarities in our stories about certain situations, but nobody's will ever be exactly the same.
that's so true. So true. That's why I love doing this show as well. You are so right about that. Okay, my friend. Well, our hour's up. I got your bonfire up so people can check it out and support your bonfire store or a second chance bonfire store. Also got your Cash App there because I have the best mod ever that was able to post it on LinkedIn. So Cash App is $ a second chance 21. And sounds good. Thank you again for, hanging out with me and telling us your story and everything you've been through and what you're doing, and just like the bigger picture, right? Like the bigger message of what we're really here to do, the true work.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, if I could say one last word, it's please register to be an organ donor. Even and I'm not saying necessarily just to be a living organ donor, but just register to be a donor in general. You cannot. It's not like you could take these organs with you to the next life, whichever religion you are. Now I understand that some religions, they don't accept that and everything. So I can respect that. But if you are part of a religion that will allow you to, please donate. I'll give you a real quick story. In 2018, when I went to the Transplant Games of America, I met the cousin of a young lady that I've known since 2008. Her name is Sarah Castro, and so I met her younger cousin, Lucas, and Lucas is a very energetic but respectable young kid. He was, I believe, 4 at the time, and he was just energetic. We had a great time. It was like every night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, him and his dad would walk downstairs because they're trying to put his baby sister to sleep, and we'll just be running around the lobby, acting crazy. And that next year in March, the day after his birthday, he passed away. But his parents took the step to make him an organ donor. And the most important part is, outside of just him donating his organs and things, he was able to donate to his cousin that needed a kidney, because she's actually now recently a 32-year heart transplant recipient, and the medications from her heart transplant affected her kidneys.
Oh my
And so end stage yet, but she was put on the list. And she went and got tested the day that they found out that he passed, and they found out that she was the match, and she got her kidney, that night. And so that's why it's important to register as an organ donor, is to be able to give some time, get that extra time, when your time is up. Like I said, you can't take these parts with you, so you might as well give them to somebody to leave them here a longer amount of time, because even though I only have mine for 3 years, it gave me an extra 15 years in total, because I honestly didn't see myself making it after 18 if I didn't have a transplant. So just those 3 years, like I said, of freedom and and things to just go out and do when I wanted to, without having to worry about getting home for dialysis, or of course I have to worry about medication. That'll always be a part of your life as a transplant patient, medication. But so please, as much as you can, find it in your heart to be an organ donor and save someone's life.
Well said. Couldn't say it any better. Thank you so much, Philip, again for sharing. And we are so happy that you're here.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. And Rosemary says, bless you both. Good night. Thank you. Martha says, bless you. I'm sure you're going to get lots of prayers, lots of positive energy, and, for sharing your story. So, all right, everybody, you know what to do. Organ donor, look into it. There are individuals out there that really need organs.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
I guess that's it. We're going to go ahead and close out and say goodnight to everyone. Thank you. We'll be back next week. Bye.